Insecurity in the Southeast. The Southeast leaders review strategy. So we know that yesterday the Ohanes and Igbo came out through Iwanyango to say they cannot fold their hands and see their people being killed by Fulani herdsmen and other foreign terrorists in the area and in the region. So they started working to see how they can help themselves, even after calling on the state governors and the federal government to ensure they protect life and property and come to their aid there. But they said they're not going to fold their hands and watch ordinary herdsmen carry AK-47 and be shooting their own people recklessly, and that is no longer going to be tolerated. So they have reviewed the strategy. Let's see what they have to tell us along that line. Ohaneze Asetu insists on indigenous security system, call for vigilance. So it means that one of the strategies is to make sure they use the indigenous security system that they have. Unfortunately, they have ESN that was formed. They have tagged ESN as part of IPOB. They have a Bubago. A Bubago is now being used as political thugs. So I don't know which of the indigenous security outfit they're going to use now. All right. Southeast states are Enugu, Anambra, Ebonyi, Imo, and Abia states. All right. So they went further to say the spate of insecurity in the Southeast, occasioned by renewed killings and kidnappings, particularly by moderate headers, has caused tension and anxiety in the zone ahead of the Yuletide. The Yuletide is the Christmas period. The Ohanes and Igbo, Nzoko Munna, Ala Igbo Development Foundation, ADF, and the Coalition of Southeast Youth Leaders, COSIL, among others, have called on governors of their 5 states in the region to rise up to their primary duty of protecting the lives and property of their people. This was as the Association Southeast Town Unions, ASETU, said the zone must reorganize and reinforce its homeland security. Worried by the precarious security situation in the state, the Southeast Governors Forum agreed on October 30 to set up a 24-hour joint patrol in all major highways within the region. Rising from a meeting at the government house in Enugu, they called on the federal government to come to their aid in providing security in the zone, bearing in mind that elections were around the corner. Recently, Ehamufu, a farming community in Isuzo local government area of Enugu State, bordering Benue State, has come under horrendous attack by herdsmen, leading to the death of many and displacement of several villagers. This is outside several cases of kidnapping for ransom perpetrated by herdsmen in the area. Unconfirmed reports said at least 200 people were killed and many others raped or wounded, while hundreds took refuge in internally displaced persons camps in the previous attacks on the community. Saturday Sun learned that residents of Ohuolo, Mgbede, Agwamede, Mbuji, and Igbo communities in Ehamufu fled their homes in what was akin to a war situation. This situation in the Enugu community has continued to elicit condemnation. The state government called on heads of security agencies to rise to the challenge and deploy more personnel to the affected communities to provide adequate security for life and property. Chairman of Ohaneze Ndigbo Council of Elders, Chief Emmanuel Iwanyango, has called on the governors and the apex Igbo body to convene an emergency meeting of political, religious, and traditional rulers to address the headers incident in Enugu. The elder statesman who appealed to the federal government to address the killings and destruction of farmlands and property by herdsmen in part of Enugu and Ebonyi state warned that the Igbo would no longer tolerate further onslaught. Speaking during the week in Owerri, Iwanyango said, I will also recommend that the Southeast Governors Forum, in collaboration with Ohanes and Igbo, set up a relief committee that will give individuals opportunity to contribute money towards the alleviation of not only those who were attacked by herdsmen, but also those affected by the flood. It is very important the Council of Elders would be able to talk to business leaders to support the state government because they cannot do it alone. I want to assure all of them that Igbo and are in a deep sympathy with them. We are not going to forget them, and we would keep praying for them. ASETU has declared that only an indigenous security system could save Igbo homeland from the increasing attacks by herdsmen. National President of Igbo Town Unions, Chief Emeka Diwe, urged the people to be vigilant, noting that there would not have been cause for concern if the Obubago security network set up by some governors in the region had the required local content. Diwe told Saturday Sun that the Igbos were an endangered species in Nigeria, but urged communities that had not activated their indigenous security system to do so in order to be able to checkmate any security threat in their domains. Harping on the vulnerability of Indigbo, Diwe said any security structure what is named must be indigenous security system. The Association of Igbo Town Unions is the only group that has established indigenous administrative structure, all right, that is the town union. The association operates at various levels from the village up to the regional and national level. So an indigenous security that has multi-level operational independence, free from the control of the governor, is what is required. The government can finance the operation, but the management should be outside their control. Indeed, killings by suspected AK-47 wielding herders have been on the rise, a reason the indigenous people of Biafra gave for floating the Eastern Security Network 2 years ago. Unfortunately, the government is not happy with that because it's going to mean attacking the herders, which are actually the Fulanis. And actually, this government is Fulani government. IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu had said during the launch of ESN that it was established to shield the Southeast and South-South regions from banditry and terrorism. The Southeast governors had prevaricated on the call by their people to set up regional security outfit just like their counterparts in the Southwest had done with Amotekun before the Obubago was eventually established. Meanwhile, a leading Igbo group, Nzuko Munna, has inaugurated a formidable team to investigate the security situation in Enugu State with a view to meeting the state government with its report. The team was also charged to verify reported cases of dropping of weapons by a helicopter in Enugu State, as well as the killings and alleged beating up of women by the military in the state. That is what they do now. Can you imagine? So now the resolution that the Indigbo, the Nzuko Munna, and all the Igbo associations are saying, are giving here, is that the only way is to use indigenous security outfits. All right. Unfortunately, Obubago is not having the required local content. What it means is that the people enrolled to be members of the Obubago are now in the pocket of the governors and be used by the governors as thugs. So they are not doing or executing the purpose for which they were set up, which is helping to protect lives and properties in the region. Now that is not what they are doing. And this was actually the reason IPOB and Nnamdi Kanu gave for setting up ESN to protect the Igbo people, the Southeast and the South, some of the South region as well. Unfortunately, that was tweeted. The governors came out to say ASN are terrorists. The federal government came out to say ESN, they are terrorists, they are IPOB. Now they set up Obubago cannot do the job. Only ESN could have done it very well, but I don't know why the government refused to accept ESN, because they see them as IPOB. But that is not what it is. Now, if ESN was allowed to operate freely, I tell you, no herdsman will enter the Southeast to go and cause mayhem. They will fish the person out in 24 hours. They would have been more effective than any other group. But now, because some of the saboteur governors and saboteur politicians in the Southeast sabotaged all of that effort because they are playing to the gallery. Why? We know that Ebonyi State is a boundary between Igbo land and Benue and even Cross Rivers. And that is where the headers are using, all the Fulanis are using to infiltrate the Igbo land. Seriously. Unfortunately, the governor of Ebonyi State, who was in PDP, defected to APC, and has now become a Fulani boy and a Fulani toy. So now he cannot fight against APC Fulani government. And that is how bad it is. Imo State, now APC State, the governor is also a Fulani boy. All right, went as far as installing Seriki of Igbo land in Imo State. How can you? So most of these saboteur politicians and governors in the Southeast are actually the bigger sellouts that are giving the Fulanis and the herdsmen the impetus to do what they're doing. And I can't imagine that a governor is a chief security of the officer of the state, but cannot provide that security as expected at the expected level. Rather, they will create thugs for their own selfish gain, for their own political ambition. How? Misplaced persons and misplaced priorities everywhere. This is not acceptable. Not acceptable at all. Not acceptable at all. So let's see how the Igbo will be able to help themselves. Somebody is saying Fulani minority rule is our insecurity as Igbos of Southeast. The way British minority rule, all right, was our insecurity. Our democratic decision as Igbos of Southeast is end of Fulani minority rule now in this 2022. All right, so they have resolved to end that now in 2022 as fast as possible. All right, the way British minority rule ended in 1960, in which Biafra Republic of Southeast is one of the 6 sovereign states. Democracy is decision of the minority. Where democratic decision of the minority is not respected, the sword decides. War is legitimate instrument by law to defend democratic decision of the majority. All right. So wow, this guy wrote an epistle here a lot. End of Fulani military, police, etc. is end of armed Fulani terrorists from Futa Jalon, nicknamed herdsmen. End of Fulani minority rule. So the truth is that it's the Fulani, the herdsmen that are causing this problem. All right, and they know it, and that is why the government is looking the other way. Rather than telling the Fulanis of stopping them from doing what they're doing, the federal government will detail the defense headquarters, and then they will send military to go to any region to protect the Fulanis. The current government said a fight against Boko Haram is fight against the North. And instead of trying to tell the Fulanis to stop what they're doing, what the government, especially Buhari, said is to tell the communities to learn to accommodate them. How can you accommodate somebody that wants to kill you and take over your house and your property and your land? Is it possible to accommodate such person? It's quite unfortunate that we're in this mess. Let's see how Indigbo will help to protect themselves.